राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे राम 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 हरे 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 जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतसी श्रीमद अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टम् स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरू श्रीयुतः पदकमलम् श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधाकांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नीलाचल निवासाय नित्याय परमात्मने बलभद्र सुभद्राभ्यां जगन्नाथाय ते नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा। नौवाध्याय का श्लोक चलो गया, पहला हमने शायद एक हो गया। ये वो बहुत महत्वपूर्ण श्लोक है 9.2। राजविद्या राजगुह्यम् पवित्रम् इदम् उत्तमम् प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यम् सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्। राजविद्या राजगुह्यम् पवित्रम् इदम् उत्तमम् प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यम् सुसुखं कर्तुम् अव्ययम्। राजविद्या राजगुह्यम् पवित्रम् इदम् उत्तमम् प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यं सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्। इसको भी बोल जाएंगे। राजविद्या राजगुह्यम् पवित्रमिदमुत्तमम् प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यम् सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्। राजविद्या राजगुह्यम् पवित्रमिदमुत्तमम् सुसुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्। राजविद्या राजगुह्यम् पवित्रम् इदमुत्तमम् प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यम् राजविद्या राजगुह्यम् पवित्रम् इदमुत्तमम् प्रत्यक्षावगमं धर्म्यम् सुखं कर्तुमव्ययम्। Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada। हिंदी में तो पढ़ेंगे या इंग्लिश चलेगा ना? इंग्लिश बस। This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets. It is purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is the perfection of religion. It is everlasting and it is joyfully performed. Purport. It's a very big purport. Right? 4, 5, 3-4 पेजेस है ना? एक साथ में हम कवर नहीं कर पाएंगे इतना, थोड़ा थोड़ा पार्ट बाय पार्ट करेंगे। This chapter of Bhagavad Gita is called the King of Education because it is the essence of all doctrines and philosophies explained before. Among the principal philosophers in India are Gautam, Kanad, Kapila, Yajnavalkya, Shandilya and Vaishwanara. And finally there is Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedanta Sutra. So there is no dearth of knowledge in the field of philosophy or transcendental knowledge. Now the Lord says that this 9th chapter is the king of all such knowledge, the essence of all knowledge that can be derived from the study of the Vedas and different kinds of philosophy. It is the most confidential because confidential or transcendental knowledge involves understanding the difference between the soul and the body. And the king of all confidential knowledge culminates in devotional service. Generally, people are not educated in this confidential knowledge. They are educated in external knowledge. As far as ordinary education is concerned, people are involved with so many departments: politics, sociology, physics, chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, engineering, etc. There are so many departments of knowledge all over the world, and many huge universities, all over the world, and many huge universities, but there is unfortunately no university or educational institution where the science of the spirit soul is instructed. Yet the soul is the most important part of the body. Without the presence of the soul, the body has no value. Still, people are placing great stress on the bodily necessities of life, not caring for the vital soul. The Bhagavad Gita, especially from the second chapter on, stresses the importance of the soul. In the very beginning, the Lord says that this body is perishable and that the soul is not perishable. Antavanta ime deha nitya yokta sharirinaha. That is a confidential part of the knowledge. Simply knowing that the spirit soul is different from this body and that its nature is immutable, indestructible and eternal. But that gives no positive information about the soul. Sometimes people are under the impression that the soul is different from the body and that when the body is finished or one is liberated from the body, the soul remains in a void and becomes impersonal. But actually that is not the fact. How can the soul, which is so active within this body, be inactive after being liberated from the body? It is always active. If it is eternal, then it is eternally active, and its activities in the spiritual kingdom are the most confidential part of the spiritual knowledge. These activities of the spirit soul are therefore indicated here as constituting the king of all knowledge, the most confidential part of all knowledge. Okay, so we'll discuss something about this and then we can go to the next part of the purport. King of all education, Raja Vidya, because it is talking about the most confidential subject. And Srila Prabhupada is saying that Gita begins with the confidential subject, secret. In Ishopanishad also it is called Vidya, Vidyam cha avidyam cha yasad vedo bhayam sa. Vidya means spiritual education and avidya means material education. Avidya, it is called technically called avidya. It's education pertaining to the matter. Because we have this material body, we should know about something in connection with body and about body. In fact, in Vedic teachings also there is knowledge about the body. Ayurveda talks about it. It also talks about this world also. So much information, how to live in this world. So there was also the Ayurveda, the Dhanurveda, Vastu Shastra, and so many things. Nyaya Shastra, Artha Shastra, sociology, everything is given in the Vedas. But to simply know that is technically called avidya, because it is pertaining to the matter. And vidya means connection to the spirit soul, which is the actual substance in the body, which is eternal entity, what we are. This body is just the external machine. The substance and the called also in Bhagavatam as a Vastava Vastu. Vastava means the reality, or Vastu, the object. And this body is the external covering over the soul as long as the soul is in the material world. And it's going to change after some time. The soul is eternal. Soul never dies. But when the soul misidentifies himself with this body, then we undergo all experiences of old age, disease and death, and again rebirth. Now people say that we don't believe in such things. That's another thing. But the Vedas says that whether we believe or not believe, these are the facts. They don't say that it may be or might be subjected to one's belief. So now let us theoretically accept it is fact. Okay. Soul is eternal and this body is temporary. Then with this understanding, what is of real value? Real value is soul. But unfortunately in today's world, there are so many departments of knowledge all over the world. Srila Prabhupada is talking here. And he went to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He asked the same question there. He said, so there are so many departments of knowledge. Where is the knowledge teaching about this soul? Someone say, where is the knowledge about Almighty in MIT? So, his lecture is there recorded, you can hear. It's very wonderful. Prabhupada is directly asking them, challenging all the students and professors there. And they are also very nicely taking it up, not as a just a challenge, but there is nice question answers also afterwards. Many are coming from Christian background asking so many questions. But because of this, people are unfortunately not believing the existence of soul. Their consciousness is only absorbed into the studying this dead matter only. Now you may say why people are not able to accept in modern times, and how in Gita there is no much discussion about the proof of existence of soul also. It is directly spoken that soul is existing in the body. And why it is confidential? Because it is not a question of only theoretical knowledge. This knowledge has to be also realized, experienced. And the experience of this requires some spiritual practices to purify our consciousness. The Vedic literature says that because of the impure consciousness, the soul has forgotten his own real identity and is absorbed in exploiting this matter. Manashashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. Prakriti means this material one. And with his mind and senses impure, with lust, envy, greed, pride, illusion, anger, the soul is absorbed in exploiting this matter. And unless there is a step taken to purify the consciousness, it is difficult to realize that he is spirit soul. Realization. Last week we were discussing about Jnanam and Vijnanam. Knowledge and the realization of knowledge. Just like a person who is absorbed in exploiting other people's resources, a criminal, because of his greed or whatever it is, a person thinks other person's property as his own. It's very difficult for him to appreciate and accept the laws of the state, simple laws of state, that one should not steal other person's property. Now, if the knowledge is everything simply, then why don't they just educate the criminals, every day give sermon that stealing is not good, and every day read out the Constitution of India in the jail? Why don't they do like that? We know it, that they also know it, but they are not accepting it because they have got some improper habits they have developed. Similarly, drunkard also knows that drinking is not good, wine is not good. Drug addict also knows that drugs are not good. But that knowing is not actually accepting in the heart because they have developed some habits. So if they decide to change their consciousness, remove that impure habits in their hearts, then they will be able to come to realization that it's not good for me, I have to leave it. Stealing is not good, exploiting is not good. Similarly, the spirit soul also in this material world, more we develop this attitude of lording over, controlling others, then it's very difficult to realize the nature of the spirit soul, who has a pure nature to love and selflessly serve. And because of this attitude, laws of material nature, which are governed under God's control, they make us into this illusory experience of understanding that I am this material body. So this knowledge needs some initiative taken to realize this knowledge, to purify our consciousness. And most of the people in Kali Yuga especially, their consciousness is filled with all these impure things of greed and lust and envy and pride and anger and illusion. Therefore, they have developed certain kind of consciousness. Because of that, there is no acceptance. First, acceptance is not there. Usually, first comes the desires and then comes the justifications. When people develop some impure desires, then they justify those activities. So various kinds of the doctrines against God or existence of soul, you'll find mostly are based on this particular problem, that people don't want to know about their next life, because knowing next life means taking responsibility of this life also, of their actions. Just like a person, if you go and tell a person who has got some habits, okay, if you drink wine, then you'll have to get cancer or whatever is liver problems. They don't want to know about it. They become immediately upset with it. Come on, I don't want to discuss about it. Similarly, people in nowadays also don't want to discuss about after death also what happens. If you ask them question, dekha jayega. Because as soon as they accept it, then comes the whole responsibility of this. The law of karma and everything comes into picture. So on one side, they have developed certain kind of habits and then don't want to know the complete truth. And that's why so many illusory doctrines are produced by the Maya, illusory energy, philosophies. This whole world is full of different atheistic philosophies. But if we become spiritually advanced, then slowly one can get that experience. How I am different from this body, different from the mind, different from the senses, different from the ego, and I am an eternal entity. So therefore, spiritual life is not simply a subject matter of academic study. It is also the practical application. Knowledge, skills and values. Values means the developing the divine consciousness by practicing the skills, techniques given in the spiritual literatures to realize the knowledge. While the academic thing is mostly is simply bugging up or at the most realizing the subject matter pertaining to the dead matter only. There is no talk about the spiritual things. Of course, in our material education also we have laboratories to study, experiment, but not all those experiments are pertaining to the matter. The experiment pertaining to the spirit means one has to practice the purificatory process, purifying the consciousness. Experiment has to be performed on one's own. First realize that there is impurity in the mind, and then we have to purify consciousness. Tapa, yajna, dana, tapa, all these activities are to purify the consciousness. Gita says also that yajna, dana, tapa, karma, na tyajyam karyam evacha, yajna, dana, tapa, pavanani manishinam. That it purifies. Tapo divyam putrakayana sattvam, shuddhet, yasmat suddhet, brahma saukhyam tvanantam. Kapil Muni, Rishabdev Maharaj says that human life is meant for purification of the consciousness. Yasmat shuddhet, brahma saukhyam tvanantam. Then you can realize your eternal identity, full of happiness, joy. So Krishna is here also saying that this is a king of all education, topmost, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. Begins with the knowledge of the soul, which is confidential knowledge. And you can experience it, pratyaksha. Just like in our material education, we perform experiments to show that we can experience those theories in laboratory by performing experiments. Krishna is saying here, you can experience it when you practice it in your life, systematically, as the direction given in Bhagavad Gita. But usually in our all education systems, they say you come and talk, but don't tell any practice. Religion, we don't want religious practices. By that they avoid, in the name of secularism. Don't teach here any religious practices. It's not a question of religious practices, rituals. We understand the principle behind those religious practices and then practice, not blindly. It's like mantra meditation. The mantra means manastrayate iti mantra. It's a purification of the mind. So without this desire for purification and attempt for the purification, the ritualistic activity also has no value. Simply mechanically practicing it. But there has to be a deep desire to change the consciousness and also the knowing the purpose behind which what we are doing. When we involve our consciousness and do it from the heart, then the rituals will work. Otherwise, rituals will remain only called only the just mechanical activities. So Srila Prabhupada would often say this, we need both. On one side we need the philosophical understanding and we need also the spiritual practices. He said that philosophy without religious practices, proper religious practices, will become only mental speculation. And religious practices without philosophical education, learning, will become only sentimentalism, blind faith. Many people perform some ritualistic practices, but they don't know why they are doing what they are doing. There is no spiritual education given. So spiritual education, learning, philosophy, along with the some practical application, then it will work. Only application, blindly following something, some rituals, without understanding, also will not work. And with simply trying to understand, sitting down, without any practical application, also will not work. So both are required, simultaneously practicing. And then the pratyaksha bhagamam dharmam, susukam kartam abhyam. Then one can experience himself. We don't need any proofs. Just like our scientific education also, we have both things. We have, on one side we teach them and we have so many laboratories, right, to perform experiments there. Same thing, in spiritual practice also we need both. But oftentimes people just want to read. You'll find people just read and say, I don't believe all these things. I have read it, all things. And some people practice it, but they don't know why they are practicing. But earlier Indian education system was, in Gurukul, both things were taken. You teach them philosophy, you simultaneously practice also. The practical aspect is one's own self, on which the practical application is performed. Then one can see systematically how I am not this material body, how I am, like for example this pranayama and everything, slowly, it's able to take out your consciousness which is absorbing this body so much that we are identifying ourselves with this body. By performing this meditation or the pranayama, you slowly see yourself different from this material body. Realize this. Atma Sakshatkar. Otherwise, theoretically, simply knowing I am not this body, spirit, soul, without any factual realization, will not help much. There has to be practical application. And then you come to know that I am not this mind, I am not this senses, I am not this ego also, I am not this just intelligence, subtle body, gross body, and the soul. The distinction one can see clearly. Just like when you churn the buttermilk, right? What do you get? Butter. And then from butter you can get ghee. So you should have got the ghee. Good example. That. Similarly, when our consciousness is churned, then you can see I am different from this material body. Not only body, this gross body, different from the mind also, different from the senses also. So this is a practical application, churning our consciousness by some people follow meditation, yoga, all these things, and devotees have this process, the Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Navavida Bhakti, which is more practical. But the process is the purification and control of mind and senses. So there are do's and don'ts. There are rules and regulations are there. Just like in a medicine also, in a treatment for the patient, doctor also says, you have to take this medicine and you don't have to do these activities. Like somebody has got indigestion, don't eat heavy food and take this medicine. So do's and don'ts. This is how this process is. Similarly, in spiritual path also there are do's and there are don'ts. Yam, niyam. That is required. Simply theoretically studying will not work. So this education is the king of all education, and this has to be experienced by practical application. Pratyaksha vagamam dharmyam sukham kartavam. So it begins with this confidential knowledge of the soul and matter difference, and it gradually goes up to realize the transcendental nature of the spirit soul and its activities on the spiritual platform. The soul is not just a light, not just an inactive some substance, but it is a very dynamic personality. All of us are. So that's why the Ishopanishad also says that by realizing this both, studying simultaneously Vidyamcha, Avidyamcha. Why avidya is required? Because we have to maintain our body, because we are living in this body. So we also need to some education pertaining to this material body and the world around us. But that is not all in all. If we study only that, what is the result? Result is disease, old age, death and rebirth. That's why it says avidya mrityum tirtva. Simply studying avidya will take you only death ultimately. Avidya mrityum tirtva vidyayam amruta ashnute. Vidya will take you to the eternity. But both requires to be studied. Vidyamcha avidyamcha yastat vedo bhayam saha Avidya mrityum tirtva vidyayam amrutashnute. This is a Ishopanishad sloka. In Vedic times, both things were taught. Education means both, pertaining to matter and pertaining to spirit. So without giving this education, spiritual education, our life is actually, in that sense, it result into ending everything at the time of death. This is very, very fearful experience. Death is for the people who are absorbing only in matter. But those who are spiritualists, they are not. They understand the life is eternal, and if I am following process properly, then I can get rid of the death also forever, and live forever life. That's why Srila Prabhupada gave this story to all the people in MIT. He said that we are all absorbed in getting only this material education. We have technology which is talking about the only matter, he said. He said, where is the technology talking about spirit? And not only that, we are only technology talking about only matter. People are becoming proud of this, only knowing matter. So he gave an example. He said, in Bengal, there is a story people talk. I think I told this story last time. Huh? Boatman and boatman. He said, there was a boatman and there was a one students of science. Professor, students of technology. He said, that student was crossing once, visiting some village, and he had to cross one river, big river. So he asked boatman, can you make me cross this river? He said, yes, come. So boatman and they were sitting and he was rowing. They went into the slowly in the middle of, it was a long, big span of the river. And this person was asking, the student was saying, my dear boatman, do you know this astronomical science? There are so many planets are moving and there are so many things happening in the space nowadays. We have done so much research in the space. Boatman said, actually I am just a boatman from the village. I am so busy with rowing this boat. How will I come to know all these things? I don't know all these things. What you are talking about? He said, your 25% life is useless. You are not knowing all these things. The boatman was just rowing. After some time, he saw there's a big jungle around and so many trees. He said, do you know about the botany, different classification of the plants and the trees, different varieties of the study in botany? Boatman again said, actually, I just know the jungle is there. How do I know what kind of, which are different types of plants and everything? I don't know anything. He said, your 50% life is gone, invested. So like that he was telling one by one, and boatman was saying, I don't know anything. And suddenly when they were talking, in the sky there were clouds came, and it was like dark, and wind started blowing very strongly, and the boat started shaking very strongly. The boatman asked, do you know swimming? He said, I don't know swimming. He said, when your 100% life is gone. He said. So he said, that is the situation. We may be knowing so much about the matter, but if we don't know about spirit, then when death comes, everything is finished. But Gita says, first sloka of Gita says that this body is not all in all. Life continues after this life. This is just a small spark in the span of eternity. This human body or any body, 50, 60 years. Krishna talks in Bhagavad Gita, life of Brahma, which is 311 trillion years. Because eternity means there is no beginning, no end. We all have such. Now we can just get bogged down with such a life, 311 trillion years. Impossible. But life is very relative. There are insects which take birth in the night and they are next day they are dead. In rainy season you can see some insects like that. They take birth, then they mate, they grow, whatever it is, they produce their children, and next day morning they are dead. Now if you tell them about a human lifespan, 100 years, multiply by 365 days, and their whole life is only half a day. For them it's very difficult to believe. Similarly, Brahma's life also for us to believe, but we actually have been living like this. There is no trace. Ananta, ending, unending our life is. That's why nobody wants to die. We want to live forever. Why? Because our nature is to live. We want to live happily because our nature is to be always happy. But that happy eternal nature has been covered over by this body, which is temporary, subjected to death, and full of miseries, in the sense that getting disease, old age, and troubles. That's why we are unable to understand our real nature of being always happy, because of identifying with this material body. So, the spirit soul is not only just different from this body and eternal, it is also very active. And this confidential, most confidential knowledge, now Krishna is going to speak, is knowledge about the eternal activities of the spirit soul. That is devotional service. And he said this is realized practically and performed with great joy. Susukham, kartum avyayam. Avyayam is eternal. This king of knowledge, king of all education, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam, most confidential, Pavitra, most purest knowledge. It has no any contaminations. Another place, it said God is supremely pure. What means that supremely pure? In God, there is no impurity exist in terms of no greed, no envy, no lust, no pride. This is a consciousness, purity, which is not spoken anywhere in our education. That pure consciousness. The person who is having pure consciousness has no envy, no greed, no lust, no pride. His heart is filled with selflessness, love, compassion for others, satisfaction within oneself. This is the pure consciousness. We all have that original pure nature. So this pavitram idam uttamam, this knowledge also is pure. It has no contamination. And it leads one to that pure stage, again back. God is supremely pure person. Also mentioned in the 10th chapter of Gita that Krishna, Arjuna says that Parabrahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. You are supremely pure. Pavitram, Paramam. Just like we don't want to associate with a person who has got, according to our calculation, impurity in his behavior. Like how many of us will want to socialize with the murderers and criminals in the jail? We will not like, certainly, right? We don't want to identify ourselves with somebody who is condemned and he has been doing such wrong activities, right? It's natural. Somebody is a cheater, somebody is a exploiter. We want to remain aloof from such people. Similarly, God, being supremely pure, He doesn't like to associate with the people who are maintaining the impure consciousness. So therefore, the path to approach the God is purifying our consciousness. When we become lover, selfless, lover of God, without wanting anything, then Krishna likes to be with us. God likes to be with us. Now He doesn't hate anybody. There is no question of hatred. God loves everyone. But still, when you want to associate with the person, he likes the person who has completely pure heart. Rest everybody else, he is taken care of by his systems. And anybody who even desires that I want to become like godly, pure in my heart, the God can purify the consciousness by his supremely powerful nature. That is also mentioned, that he is apapaviddham shuddham. He is pure and he can purify also anybody comes in contact with him. But there is a willingness required for that. Willingness to purify our consciousness is there, then the God can purify our consciousness. The whole spiritual practice is purification, purificatory process. Removing all impure impressions from our mind and developing bringing out our natural pure state. That's every soul has a divine nature. We have accumulated some certain impurity that has to be thrown out. It's like a pure water, when it mixed with the mud, rainwater, it becomes impure. You filter it process, again you get pure water. Spiritual practice means filtering out impurities from our consciousness. And then one will experience that divine nature. And the easiest process to purify the consciousness is to chant God's name, Krishna's name. It is said in the Padma Puran, the God's name is Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha Purna Shuddho. It is completely pure. Nitya Mukto. It is eternally liberated. Abhindatva Namanami. Not only the God is Purna Shuddho, the name, but the name can enter into our consciousness and it can purify the consciousness also without getting contaminated. Generally, purificatory object get impure by purifying something. Like we have water which is pure, if you clean the floor, the water also becomes impure. The floor gets clean, but water becomes impure. But here it is said that apapaviddham shuddham. The God can purify without getting himself contaminated. How we understand that? Just like sun. The sun can purify the stool and urine on the ground, but sun doesn't get contaminated. That's how the God also can purify things. That's why I said Purna Shuddho. He is always completely pure. Holy name of the Lord. Nama Chintamani Krishna. This is Padma Purana Shloka. Krishna's name is like Chintamani stone, gem. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. It is full of Chaitana, consciousness. Full of rasas, different mellows. And it is Purna Shuddha, completely pure. Nitya Mukto, Abhinnatva Namanami. That's why in Kali Yuga, seeing the whole atmosphere getting contaminated, once Narada asked this question to Brahma, what is the solution? What is the remedy for the people to purify their consciousness in Kali Yuga and attain God or their divine nature back? Then Brahmaji answered this question. He said this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Iti Shodashakam Namna Kali Kalmashanashanam Nato Parataropaya Sarva Vedeshi Drishyate. He said that there is no other way in all the Vedic literatures except the chanting of this mantra. Better solution than this. Nato Parataropaya. This mantra. Iti Shodashakam Namna Kali Kalmashanashanam. Kali Kalmashanashanam. Kalmasha means impurity. To destroy the impurities of the Kali Yuga, this is the mantra. Or the Shukadeva Goswami also speaks in Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, Kalir dosho nidhe rajan, asti eka mahanvo. And Kali Yuga is full of all faults. It's ocean of faults. But there is a one good quality in Kali Yuga. Kirtanad eva krishnasya mukta sangha param brajet. One can become free from all these faults by chanting Krishna's name. So this is the uh, essence of all the practices, is chant the holy name of the Lord. So this knowledge is the purest of all activities, as explained in the Vedic literatures. In Padma Puran, man's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be the result of sin after sin. What is sin? Sin means deliberate disobedience to the laws of God. Just like the crime means deliberate disobedience to the laws of state. It is called crime. So the deliberate disobedience to the laws of God is called the sin or the crime. Sin is basically crime. Now man-made laws, something may not be considered a crime, but that has no value if it is not in aligning with the God's laws. In fact, the dharma means simply the law code given by the God. That is called dharma. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Dharma means the law codes spoken by the God. Just like the state laws, means it is given by the government. Law code given by the government or constitution or the king. It is called the the laws to be followed by everybody. And anybody is breaking those laws is called a criminal. The civil or the criminal. Civil crime or दूसरा what है? Civic laws and criminal laws. है ना? Both are considered the lawbreakers. So the sin definition is the laws given by the God somebody breaks. Now, for example, the man-made laws may not have any implication if somebody is killing an animal. In today's world, if cow is killed, there is no law. But Veda says that it is anybody who is killing cow or any other animal also, there is a punishment for that also. So the human laws are supposed to be in harmony, in line with the laws of God. Just like when I am making some law in my home, in home also you can make some laws within your house. Everybody should come for a breakfast on such and such time together. Or you can say, husband can say, the breakfast should be ready, lunch should be ready by this time. This is law in my house. Children also may study, tell that, okay, you should study at such and such time, right? You should do your homework. You can make your own laws home, within the home. But you cannot make a law inside home. Okay, you can say every day morning our house should be clean. You can make that law within the house. But you cannot make a law and the kachra should be thrown into the corridor outside the house. Every day you clean the house and throw the dirt into the outside the home on the pathway of other people going. Why can't you make law like that? Because building law is, you cannot do that. So you have the right to make the laws which are not contradicting the building laws. Similarly, the building can make laws or a society can make laws which are not colliding with the state laws. Okay, if you have your own house in the old premises, you can make a road inside your compound. There you can drive your own car. If you have your own house bungalow, you can ride your own vehicle on the right or left. Nobody is going to ask this. But if you go on the road, you have to keep on the left side only. So you cannot make a law that I can drive a vehicle on any side, outside. isn't it? So all the laws made, it should be in harmony with the laws of the state, and the state can make laws with the nation. If any law is contradicting made by either individually or collectively with the higher laws, then this law has no value. Everybody will be punished for that. Similarly, any king or any state or any nation is making some laws which are contradicting with laws of God, then their laws have no value. And that's why people are suffering in today's world, because they are making their own laws. Previously, all the laws were made in complete harmony with the Vedic laws. First, their education was given. There is no education. Whatever coming in their mind, they are just making the laws. It's like, and they're saying sometimes, we are very honest, we are making all good laws for everybody. But if they are not caring for the laws of God, what is the value of their laws? Thieves can make their own laws. We should be honest among ourselves. Honesty among thieves. But see, from the state point of view, what is the use of their laws? Similarly, sometimes the human beings are trying to be very honest to each other and making some planning commissions are making some rules and regulations. But what is the value of those rules and regulations if they are breaking the gross laws of God? So cause of suffering of the people is because they are breaking the laws of God. So many places. Everything sinful is being legalized. Prostitution, meat eating, gambling. They are legalizing those things. There is so much of back and forth to stop this gambling. What do you call this? Dream 11. This. Huh? Yes. They were not able to understand this gambling for so long. Because some people have been giving money to win the court case, whatever is that. So it was allowed for so long, gambling. But gambling, prostitution, illicit, meat eating and intoxication, so many liquor shops are getting open. People are having all freely drinking and everything. Human body is not meant for such activities. They are called considered sins, breaking the laws of God. These bodies are given for proper use, and they are misusing it by such activities. And the cause is suffering. Individually, collectively, people are suffering. So deliberate disobedience of the laws of God means sin, and sin means suffering. And to solve that suffering, they are breaking further laws, oftentimes. So here it is said that in Padma Puran, the man's sinful activities have been analyzed and are shown to be the result of the sin after sin. Those who are engaged in fruitive activities are entangled in different stages and forms of the sinful reactions. For instance, when the seed of a particular tree is sown, the tree does not appear immediately to grow. It takes some time. It is first a small sprouting plant, then it assumes the form of a tree, then it flowers and bears fruits, and when it is complete, the flowers and fruits are enjoyed by the person who has sown the seed of the tree. Similarly, a man performs a sinful act, and like a seed, it takes time to fructify. There are different stages. The sinful action may have been already stopped within the individual, but the result or the fruit of that sinful action are still to be enjoyed. There are sins which are still in the form of seed, and there are others which are already fructified and giving us the fruits which we are enjoying as a distress and pain. As explained in the 28th verse of the 7th chapter, a person who has completely ended the reaction of all sinful activities and who is fully engaged in pious activities, being freed from the duality of this material world, becomes engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. In other words, those who are actually engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord are already freed from all reactions. This statement is confirmed in Padma Puran. Aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukham क्रमेणैव प्रलीयेत विष्णु भक्ति रतात्मना. For those who are engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Person of Godhead, all the sinful reactions, whether fructified in the stalk or in the form of seed, gradually vanish. Therefore, the purifying potency of the devotional service is very strong, and it is called Pavitram Uttamam, the purest. Uttama means transcendental, Tamasa means this material world or darkness, and Uttama means that which is transcendental to material activities. Devotional activities are never to be considered material, although sometimes it appears that devotees are engaged just like ordinary men. One who can see and is familiar with devotional service will know that they are not material activities. They are all spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. So, Pavitram Paramam, the supremely pure, or the here it says Uttamam, Uttamam. Rajavidya Rajavidam Pavitram Idam Uttamam. So, Padma Puran says that Aprarabdha Phalam Papam. Aprarabdha means the prarabdha means as soon as one takes birth, whatever we have done in the past, good and bad activities, pious and impious activities. Pious activities means somebody is following the Vedas and performing some activities to enjoy some results of their punya, like giving some daন to other people, doing some pujas, doing some tapasya. Why people want to do such things? To get some fruits out of it. Fruits to enjoy. किसको कुछ देंगे तो मेरे को मिलेगा. भगवान का कुछ पूजा करेंगे तो मेरा विघ्न चला जाएगा, कुछ मिलेगा, प्राप्त करेंगे. So these are called punya activities. Feeding to the poor people in category of punya. Not spiritual activities. They are the activities ordained in the Vedas to get some material results to enjoy in this world. So those who are pious people, those who follow the Vedic text to enjoy the material world's activities in terms of getting more money, good health, beautiful body, beautiful wife, husband, good progenies, or later on Swarga, going to heaven and enjoy fame of this world, many things, but not about spiritual world. There is no talk about spiritual things, only the material benefits, but in a pious way. Impious people want to also get more money, fame, but by sinful ways, by breaking the laws of God. A pious person and impious person. So whatever a piety, sometimes some person may act piously also, and some sins also performs. Everybody's life is mixed like that in the material world. Because of sometimes envy, greed, person break the laws of God, goes beyond his limits. And pious people means they follow the laws of God and get some material benefits. So everybody's life, everything gets accounted. Just like nowadays, this internet, everything your activities are being recorded. So the Vedas says, the 6th chapter of Bhagavatam says, 6th canto, that everything about everyone is recorded, especially human form of life. There are 12 recording agents. The shloka directly in 6th canto. The Yamdutas are talking to the Vishnudutas. They are saying that There are 12 witnesses for every activities. They're talking very nicely. Yamduta is saying, Yamduta Uchu, Veda Pranahito Dharma, Ya Adharma Tat Vipariyah. Yamduta replied, that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitutes dharma, the religious principles. And the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan and are self-born. This we have heard from our master Yamaraj. And then they say later on, Suryagni Kham Marudeva Soma Sandhyahani Disha Kamku Swayam Dharma Iti Jete Dayasya Sakshinaha. The sun, the fire, sky, air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and super soul means all the deities controlling these elements. The water deities, Varun Dev, this and the super soul himself are all witnesses. All witness the activities of the living entity. Srila Prabhupada says that the members of some religious sects, especially Christians, do not believe in the religious reactions of karma. But here is said that sometimes, once we had a discussion with learned Christian professor who argued that although people are generally punished after the witness of their misdeeds are examined, where are the witnesses responsible for one's suffering the reaction of past karma? To such a person, answer is given by the Yamdutas here. A conditioned soul thinks that he is working stealthily and there is no one can see sinful activities, but we can understand from the Shastras that there are many witnesses including sun, fire, sky, demigods, evening, day, night. This is also mentioned into the other places also. Other Vedic literature also says that Aditya, Chandravo, Anilo, Anulasya, same list is mentioned in other Vedic literature also. Bhagavatam also mentions, other places also. So, the candidates for punishment are those who are confirmed by these many witnesses. Etair adharmo vigyatah sthanam dandasya yujyate sarve karmarodhena dandam arhati karina. Everyone engaged in fruitive activities is suitable to be subjected in the punishment according to his sinful acts. So now one may say, why he is punished for his previous acts? Like we've forgotten it. No, we have forgotten the details, but the tendencies are still there within us. And it's not simply a knowledge is sufficient criteria for the person to understand and accept his punishments. For example, in this life also, every criminal in jail knows why he is putting in the jail. Does that help him to rectify? Because he has got those tendencies, he doesn't accept that his punishment is rightly done for him. But we can understand that this punishment is required to rectify his tendencies. Similarly, although we have forgotten our previous life, still we have got some sinful tendencies which we can observe it in our hearts. They are not gone. Those tendencies are still there. The knowledge about the past activities may be over, but to perform sinful activities, the tendencies are still there. So they are sinful reactions. They try to punish or try to purify those tendencies. If somebody has done some crime, somebody has stolen somebody's money in the previous life, in this life his money will be stolen. And usually you'll find when people undergo such things, they usually again that tendency is not gone, still it is there in their minds also. A simple example, sometimes people, chappal is stolen and they become angry and they wear somebody else's chappal and go away. You seen that? My chappal is gone, so I will take somebody else's chappal. So this tendency to perform sin is still there in this life, even though details are forgotten. And many times people don't accept that. Sometimes one may not be aware also. What all tendencies a person has. When opportunities come, people act improperly when they are put in situations. Especially nobody is watching them like that, they think. So, more one becomes like that alert and introspective and observes, you can understand the God's system work very finely. Even in the Bible, it is said that God's laws, God's mills, they grind slowly, but they grind finely. So not every life, everything can be punished for a person. When we take birth, whatever good we have done in the past many lives, a stock of that is taken. Some stock is taken. Some portion of that is taken. And whatever bad activities we have done, a portion of that is taken and avoided for this particular life. That is called prarabdha karma. Prarabdha means for this particular life, quota of good and bad activities are given to the person. Why all the things cannot be given? Because it's not possible sometimes to exhaust all his karmic reaction in one lifetime. For example, one devotee went to one jail, Tihar jail, for giving. So he was giving a class and at the end he asked, any questions? One man said, I have a question. I want to come on stage and ask. So this devotee commissioner was sitting. He asked commissioner, why you want to come on? Who is he? He said, he has committed 13 murders. तो मेरा क्या 14 मैं हो गया. Let him come. So he came and asked some question. Anyway, after that program, that devotee was talking to him. What made you to do all these criminal activities? He said, गुस्सा आता है तो आंखें कुछ दिखता नहीं, अंधा हो जाता हूँ. अभी तो he had got a life imprisonment. So now in some cases like this, one has committed 13 murders, 14 murders or whatever. In one lifetime he is not going to get punishment of that. Because only once he can die, na? So he is going, every lifetimes he will be getting that punishment in the future lives. Because one life only once can die. So not every one life, all your quota, person's quota can be exhausted. This I am giving a gross example of, but there are many such activities which cannot be given one lifetime. They go to the next life and next life like that. But of course this person was saying, now by God's grace, I got some service of studying Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita in jail. Because they are translating it in the Braille Lipi for blind people. And I am reading and I am doing that service, he said. So I'm helping that. So I have to do scrutinizingly reading Bhagavad Gita. And now he said, I can realize in my life how I have wasted my life into such dangerous activities, and my future will be such dark things. But then he said, Gita is giving me hopes that I can get rid of all these things by practicing spiritual life. So he was very repentant and trying to practice spiritual life. Unless one is realizing that, then these reactions will continue life after life, whatever we are doing. That's why we'll find in this world also suddenly a person becomes bankrupt, suddenly person dies, suddenly person becomes, why it happens like this? Or somebody is taking birth in a very good family, like Birla's family, Tata's family, or the Ambani's family, or Elon Musk family. with silver spoon in his hand, a golden spoon in his hand. Somebody is taking birth in the slum, handicapped. So why? Why such things happening? Because the previous karmic reaction just continue. God has no is not responsible for that. Every individual is passing his own life like this. So aprarabdha means the reactions which are waiting for us has not yet come. That's called aprarabdha. And prarabdha means in this life the kind of body we get and what is going to happen in our lives, in the present life, which is destined, that is all called prarabdha karma. Actually cannot change it much. Although everybody is working hard to make his destiny, but actually destiny cannot be changed by this hard work. Destiny can be changed only by spiritual practices. The hard work and everything can just change our little bit form. Like something has to come like this, it will come like this. If you avoid like this, it will come like this, but it will come. So this cannot be changed much by our material endeavors. That's why in this Vedic culture, people would be little more peaceful about their life, because they would understand that there is no need of simply working hard in this world, because you can see what hard work a person has performed if he is taking birth in the Ambani's family. Simply by his birth, he has got crores of rupees property written on his name, even before the birth also. How do you answer this? And somebody is working so hard and still he remains coolie. Somebody is working so hard, he is a clerk in the court, and somebody is sitting in the judge position and just hearing for a few hours. He is working whole day. Who is paid more? The judge is gone more. Work for a few hours a day. So this is a wrong thing, that you simply by working hard you can change your life. Sometimes you may earn more paper currencies, but again the Shastra says that your quota of happiness and quota of misery is also fixed. Simply earning more money is not going to change your quota of happiness. That money will remain in the bank, or income tax people will take away, or it will go in your sickness. The only thing will get a solace is that I suffered my sickness in a big hospital paying more money. That illusion you can have. That because I had so much money, I could spend in that hospital. But you cannot change your suffering quota. You had less money, you still suffer the same quota. That amount of money you can enjoy, that is not simply by earning more. One bank manager was telling, Calcutta, Indian Overseas Bank, that I have seen crores of rupees money is lying in the bank, unaccountable money. Somebody has kept the money, his family members also don't know. I was a branch manager having so many banks under me, I saw. And we are sending the letters to their homes. Letters are returning back because the whole family shifted somewhere else. We don't know where the family has gone. Only this person knew that money, and he's gone, died. The money is in bank. That means he could not enjoy that money, nor his family members could enjoy. Goes to the bank. Not since crores of rupees, crores, like that. So this shows that it's not that the karmic reactions what we have, we cannot avoid it. It will come. And even if we try to adjust the situation by doing some material adjustments, we cannot avoid those things. The only way to change it, destiny, is spiritual practices. One can completely change it. Why? By rectifying our consciousness. That's what Gita teaches us. Aham tvam sarva papebhi mokshishyami mahashya. Because devotional service means change of the heart, change of one's consciousness, and change of desires, quality of the desires, giving up the wrong tendencies. As long as the wrong tendencies are carried out in our hearts, you cannot avoid these punishments or the reactions simply by material adjustments. And another problem is that even after punishment comes, still a person carries the wrong tendencies. That is also mentioned here. Apraraddha phalam papam, uttam bijam phalanukam. They are in the seed form. So even if the reaction comes, still a person's tendency is not gone. In a Christian religion, they call out atonement, or they call confession. They confess to the priest going to the church. Oh, I did this such activities. What should I do? The priest is standing on the other side. And he said, okay, you pay some $20 or something, some fine. So the person gives, think that now I don't have to suffer for that action. Okay, by this process you can avoid your suffering to some degree. It's called atonement. Atonement means voluntary accept suffering. You have to pay money means suffering is there. So that you don't have to suffer that reaction. But the tendency is not gone. Again person comes next week. I did the same thing. So one person came and the priest told, okay, give you $40 for his sake. So he gave $80. He said, why you are giving $80? He said, next week I am not going to come, he said. So take $80. So these tendencies are still carrying person who is trying to adjust with the atonement process given in the Vedas. What to speak of material adjustment, even the Vedic direction of atonement also will not help. That's what Shukadeva Goswami and Parishit Maharaj discussion comes just before this beginning of 6th canto. And Shukadeva Goswami says that this atonement is useless because it will not purify the consciousness of person. In fact, Parishit Maharaj says this atonement is useless. Tell me something. The best process to change the hearts of the person. Then he says devotional service. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya narayana parayana agam dhunvanti karasnena niharamya bhaskar. Just like the sun dissipates all the fog, similarly devotional service to Lord Narayan removes all the sinful tendencies in the heart of a person. He becomes completely purified without again getting into this action reactions of this material world. This is what Shukadeva Goswami says. And this is Padma Purana also is saying the same thing, that apraraddha phalam papam Vishnur bhakti. Here is Srila Prabhupada is saying that the devotional service apraraddha phalam papam kutam bijam phalam mukam. There are different stages of the sinful reactions. Bijas, kutas, subtle form. The tendencies are there. The kutam, bijam, phalanmukam. Vasanas. Vasanas means the very subtle desires. We may not be also aware sometimes. But whatever we have done in this life, previous life, that get registered into that tendencies, sinful tendencies. So there are different stages of this. Kutam, bijam, phalanmukam. Phalanmukam means they are now just like your seed. In our kitchen you will find many seeds are there. Mustard seed is there, the till is there, or the chana, chickpeas are there. Different seeds are there. When they are kept in jar, they don't fructify. Sometimes months together they are there. Right? Why they don't fructify? Because there is no environment, favorable environment to create. Similarly, so this kind of seeds, bijam, kutam, subtle tendencies what we also may carry, we may not be aware, they don't fructify unless we are put in a particular situation. Then they get a favorable environment, the seeds they put in the soil or some moist environment, within a few days it will produce fructification. Right? Otherwise, years together they can be kept in the jars. Years together, all these tendencies there in our hearts, but a particular situation comes, it will. That's why you find sometimes good people acting in a strange way sometimes when they are put into particular situation. They act improperly because the tendencies are there in the heart. So how to remove those tendencies? That's why previously the samskaras were performed on children from the beginning of their birth to remove those tendencies by performing purificatory processes. Samskara means purificatory processes. And when samskaras are performed, then consciousness is elevated because those impurities are removed by the samskaras. Everybody is carrying bad samskaras from previous life. And the duty of the parents is to remove those samskaras by purificatory processes. And the systematic one, the 10 important samskaras which begins before the birth of a child. Garbhadan samskar, Jata karma, then the Namakaran samskar, Annaprashan, all these samskaras are there. And because in Kali Yuga nobody performs samskaras, that's why in Kali Yuga everybody is Shudra. Shudra means no samskaras are performed. Janmana jayate Shudro. By birth everybody is Shudra. This is a Vedic text. Now, man has made this by birth, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, say, but Vedas says that by birth everyone is Shudra. Janmana jayate Shudro. Samskarat bhavet dvija. When the purificatory process is performed, then you are counted as a dvija, twice born. That's why previously those who were sent to Gurukul were 3 classes of the people. Vaishya, Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. They are called dvijas. Dvija means twice born. One birth is from the parents, another birth is from the scriptures and the Guru. Guru is father and scriptures are like mother. They are called dvija. Sometimes the Brahman people are called dvijas, right? Dvijas and vipras. So samskarat bhavet dvija. Samskarar performed, then it becomes dvija. Then Veda Pathat Bhavet Vipra. So Dvija means all 3 categories, Vaishya, Kshatriya and Brahmanas. By samskara, not by birth, by this purificatory process performed. Then by studying the Vedas, then you becomes actually Vipra. Otherwise you remain Brahman or the Vaishya or Kshatriya. The Vaishyas and Kshatriyas, they don't study much like Brahmana. They become Vipra and Brahma Janati iti Brahman. When one realizes that I am not this Brahman, I am not this body, then he is called Brahman. Brahma Janati iti Brahman. So these purificatory processes are stopped in Kali Yuga. That's why it is called Kalo Shudra Sambhava. In Kali Yuga, everybody is Shudra. There is no, hardly you will find Brahmanas in true sense. Prabhupada will say headless society. Brahmana is called head of the society, but there is no head in. There are no Brahmanas in Kali Yuga. Brahma Janati iti Brahman. That means he is not working on the bodily platform. That is called Brahma Janat. He knows what is Brahma, spiritual things. So, so devotional act, here it says, Karmeneva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. By performing Vishnu bhakti, all these different stages, the sinful tendencies and this stuff, everything is removed. Just like you have these seeds in the kitchen, if you roast them a little bit on the pan, then you will not fructify. Right? Even if put in the most favorable environment. Similarly, bhakti means roasting our all those tendencies. Bijas and kutas and everything is roasted. Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajan. Brahma Samhita says, Karmani means all kinds of stages of karmas, kutam, bijam, phalanmukam, any stage of this. Once you roast it on the fire, then it will not further act. So Brahma Samhita says Brahma, Karmani nirdahati. Nirdahati means burnt. So those seeds are roasted. So that's why devotee may act in this world performing the activities like materialistic people, but he is in completely harmony with Lord's desires. That's why he doesn't perform any sin. Uh, Externally, Arjuna is fighting, he's killing also, but he's not performing any sin because he is doing that activity just like a judge is doing, giving judgment to the criminal to kill. Not out of his own personal grudges and envy, he is killing anybody. So that's why Arjuna's activities are not having any, what you call, personal motivations behind it, but is acting just on behalf of God. Therefore, it is not sinful at all. In fact, he did not want to fight. Krishna asked him to fight. Just like a judge is giving a judgment, similarly Arjuna also was told to act, to execute his duties, because Supreme Judge Krishna already had given the judgment that these people should be killed for their previous activities, like that. So Arjuna just executed the will of the Lord, like that. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says that one who can see and is familiar with devotional service will know that they are not material activities. They are all spiritual and devotional, uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. So supremely pure. So this is science. Krishna consciousness is such a deep and so systematic, everything is. And a devotee can become completely free from all the sinful reactions of all the previous lives, no matter what he has done in the previous lives, by practicing process of devotional service, Vishnu Bhakti. Karmenaiva praliyate. All these things are gone. So this is science. Hare Krishna. Any questions, comments? हाँ
एक समझ में आता है कि वो तो सीड है एंड सिचुएशन का बिल्कुल जनरेट दिखाई होगा जो फूटा है वो उससे सटल है और आत्मा का प्रॉपर्टी बता दें तो उधर स्ट्रेस है ना फूटा एक्चुअली क्या है
कूटर Kutastha and Kuta, I don't know whether they are connected. They are connected. हाँ? नहीं इसमें होगा तो मैं बताता हूँ मुझे पता नहीं होगा Vallabha quote the same thing. He says, sins in the form of aparadha, aprarabdha, kuta, bija, and prarabdha. The aprarabdha karma are those which will not give effect in this lifetime. It is called aprarabdha. Prarabdha means in this lifetime. They are the result of actions from the previous lifetimes which will manifest in the future lifetimes. Prarabdha karma or phala unmukha karmas are those karmas which will manifest in this lifetime. They are already fructified. Phala unmukha. As enjoyment or suffering arising from the previous acts of punya and papa. Kuta and bija are two stages between totally unmanifest aprarabdha and manifest prarabdha karmas. Totally unmanifest aprarabdha and totally manifested prarabdha का बीच वाला स्टेज है ऐसा बोल रहे हैं are gradually destroyed for the person engaged in the bhakti to Vishnu, Padma Puran. In the above verse, the word Kramena indicates that the sins are destroyed in the manner of piercing 100 leaves. As a needle pierces one leaf at a time in a pile of the leaves, so bhakti will destroy the karmas one at a time, though in appearance or in verbal expression, it may seem to occur all at once. This is an example that you have bundle of the sleeves and you put needle. गार्लैंड बनाते हैं माता जी लोग, कभी कभी बंडल लेते हैं, एक साथ में हो जाता है ऐसा लग रहा है, लेकिन कर्मे ने बोले ना एक के बाद एक, इतना फास्ट हो जाता है वो, it destroys all the karmas. This knowledge, bhakti, has its object of understanding avagamam, directly perceived, pratyaksha. I, the Supreme Lord, the object of understanding, make my appearance in direct perception arising from such method as hearing. The author of Vedanta, Prakashascha Karmani Abhyasat, the Lord is revealed through the constant repetition of devotional actions. I think that's what he says. Kuta is not spoken much here, but it appears that it is very subtle. That much you can understand. Kuta, in between the aprarabdha, unmanifested things, and the manifested thing, in between some verses. Kutastha, it comes. Exact words you can tell, then we can search. You can tell the exact verse. Huh? Second chapter it comes, second chapter. मिला कूटस्थो हाँ 15 चैप्टर इसमें भी ज्ञान विज्ञान वितरात्मा कूटस्थ विचिंद्रिय 6.8 वेर नहीं 6.8 में भी है, उसका नाम लिखे 6.8 हाँ spiritually situated. Kotastha means spiritually situated. Same thing ना, spiritually situated and liberated, same thing. और एक जगह पे है आत्मा इज कूटस्थ.
क्या बता रहा है इस बारे में? जो कूट वर्ड है ना उसका मीनिंग एआई से सर्च करता है अलग अलग वेबसाइट पे. हाँ. ये है इन संस्कृत द वर्ड कूटा है सेवरल मीनिंग इंक्लूडिंग अ बोर्ड, स्ट्रॉन्ग होल्ड, अ वाटर पॉट, अ पीक और समिट दैट लाइक अ माउंटेन पीक, अहम और अहम. It can also refer to something that is crooked, deceitful or false, as seen in Utayuta, Utayut. Meaning are distinct or unjust. Additionally, it can form part of other words such as Kutastha, meaning something unchangeable or immutable. Unchangeable or immutable.
Here also says that he does not change but remain in fixed in Atma. That is called Kutastha. The meaning of Baldev, the Chakravarti Thakur.
Kuta basically something is unchangeable. So basically the material में आता है ना duality. तो इस material later becomes with पहले क्या रहता है क्या करता है ना. तो something basically
इसका चार्ज
something very very basic to the material nature. It does not change. From this actually this design or this तो सारे में जो कंडीशन को बीच का ही डिस्ट्रॉय का बात करते हैं. फोन आ गया फोन. अच्छा ये चल रहा है ये चला क्या? अच्छा ये चलेगा बेटा. किसी को लाज उसको बंद कर दे. अभी आ रहा है.
कालकूटम बोला एक कूटम और आता ना. हाँ? अहोबकियम सन कालकूटम. So kutam will also have different meanings. So kalakutam is a certificate. Ahobakiyam sana kalakutam. Kalakutam was another.
तोड़ ही नहीं उसको इसलिए काल को रिकमेंड तो है अभी तक तोड़ दी तो काल लेके नहीं.
सब समय गैप तो हो सकता है. सब समय गैप तो कंप्लीशन है.
As the next body develops, the sinful effects makes the person highly inclined to sensual behavior. Kutam. It is called kutam in this case. This inclination intensifies until a person who perhaps has by now become a devotee is overwhelmed by desire. They call bijam. If the devotee succumbs to such illicit desire and engages in uncontrolled religious activities, religious sex, or prarabdha with himself or someone else, he suffers further. On the one side, his sinful acts nourish his sinful inclination, which matures into more seeds of desire. The desire that relentlessly impels him to live ये कोई एनालिसिस है इसकी वो कूटम मतलब stored up stored up जैसे कहीं से बता फन ऑफ दैट लोका कूटम मतलब stored up this meaning here This Gorgon Swami Maharaj has on something like this. I was reading this now. It says the qualities of the pure devotional service. Qualities of pure devotional service. Freedom from all distress. This is called how it happens. He is analyzing this. Formative sinful activities also of two kinds. The first causes further sinful acts to become manifest, prarabdha, and the other produces inclination to perform further sinful acts, kuta. Thus, the inclination to sin then forms into seed, which in turn produces further sinful activities in the same above mentioned two divisions. Manifest aprarabdha and formative prarabdha. The following two hypothetical example shows how this chain reaction works and how it causes even devotees suffer. This is an example. Devotee suffering is destined for punishment by the laws of nature because of promiscuity. What is promiscuity? The reaction for such a sin does not appear immediately but remains formative, a prarabdha, until the next birth. As the next body develops, the sinful effects makes the person highly inclined to sensual behavior, kutam. This inclination intensifies until the person, who perhaps has by now become a devotee, is overwhelmed by desire for sex, vision. If the devotee succumbs to such illicit desires and engages in uncontrolled, irreligious sex, prarabdha, with himself or someone else, he suffers further. On the other side, his sinful acts nourish his sinful inclinations, which matures into more seeds of desire that relentlessly impels him to have more sex. On the other side, he also receives direct reactions in the form of shame and censure from the devotee community. A practicing devotee can only break this vicious cycle of sin and punishment by tolerating the influence of past sinful activities and stopping any further sinful acts. This is possible only by taking full shelter of the all-purifying potency of devotional service. The serious practitioner may ask how they can remain enthusiastic, patient, and tolerant in the face of such reactions. Patience and enthusiasm seem so incognitions. To overcome the above cycle of sinful reactions and tangibly advance in spiritual life, devotees must first understand and then become convinced of the extraordinary potency invested in pure devotional service. Uttama Bhakti, even at early stages of practice, is like Krishna all-powerful. No other spiritual practice described in the Vedas or any other scriptures, whether in the Karma Jnana or Upasana Kanda, can completely purify its followers' hearts. On this topic, two Bhagavatam verses are the favorite type of Vaishnavas. These verses fill devotees' hearts with conviction that their suffering will soon be driven out by the matchless influence of the devotional service. First verse describes how the seed of the sinful desire, papam, is neutralized, and how the second, how the impetus for sinful desire, ignorance in its many form, avidya,
is uprooted. See chapter 16 for description of these four stages, four types of ignorance. Taistani agani puyante tapodana vratadivi na dharma jam tad dudayam tad api sangri sevaya. Although one may neutralize the reactions of sinful life through austerity, charity, vows, and other such methods, these pious activities cannot uproot the material desires in one's heart. However, if one serves the lotus feet of personality of Godhead, he is immediately freed from all such contamination. Srimad Bhagavatam 6.2.17. Yat pada pankaj palasha vilasha bhaktya karmashayam gargatam udgrathyanti santa tadvad narikta manayo yatatopi ruddha shoto ganestam aranam bhajavasudeva. बहुत अच्छे श्लोक सुना आपने. The devotees who are always engaged in the service of the Lord, toes of the lotus feet of the Lord, can very easily overcome hard-knotted desires for fruitive activities. Because this is very difficult, the non-devotees, the jnanis and yogis, although trying to stop the waves of sense gratification, cannot do so. Therefore, you are advised to engage in the devotional service of Krishna, the son of Vasudeva. Srimad Bhagavatam 4.20-29. While preaching in India, Srila Prabhupada was often confronted with a common misconception. Traditionalists considered his Western disciples to be untouchables by birth, mlecchas and chandalas, and thus unqualified to become brahmanas, even if purified of past sins. To conduct Vedic sacrifices, the Hindus argued the Westerners would have to take birth in a Brahmana family in India. Srila Prabhupada responded to such superstition and explained the conclusive opinion of revealed scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.6. He battled valiantly to establish that even a person born in the family of dog eaters can become qualified to perform Vedic sacrifices. That qualification came, he argued, by living a life of pure Brahmana, chanting the holy name, praising Krishna, hearing about his pastimes, offering him obeisances and remembering him. Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7. It was spiritual practice, not birth, that determined who was a Vaishnava Brahman. And if self-righteous Brahmanas, though born in the best of the families, neglected their spiritual duties, scripture considered that they were nothing more than the semblance of Brahmana, Brahmabandhu. Prabhupada's preaching was successful. Most spiritual authorities in India now accept ISKCON's members as bona fide Vaishnavas. They accept that all devotees duly initiated and following guidelines of their founder Acharya are purified of past sins and endowed with Brahmanical qualities. So this is one of the Srila Prabhupada disciple has given. This putam means what he considers the inclinations the person has. Putam and the bijam are the next stage of that. Vasanas, they are called vasanas, and the very subtle proclivities for certain things. And when you get a particular stage from that, then it forms a particular desire. Like somebody has a stealing tendency, but he's alone sitting, he sees something, nobody is watching. Now that putam has transformed into some bij of stealing that particular object. Puta is very subtle tendencies. Yes. 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 It is said that a particular desire, a person has acted or say has been stealing the property. So that stealing tendency is in the form of puta is there. And when you come in a particular situation, that is a manifestation that now I want to steal. That desire has come. So it has from that puta stage, it has gone to the higher stage of now desire of acting. And when you act, then it becomes sin. Putam, bijam, phalanmukam.
That you want something very nice in you. And if you don't see around it, then the case is problem. Once you see that, then
Yes. Yeah, you can say different stages. Okay, here he says that this is different, I think. What he says here, puta means as the next body develops, sinful effects makes the person highly inclined to sensual behavior. Sensual behavior. Highly inclined to sensual behavior is there. It is not manifested in form or highly inclined to some sensual behavior. It's called puta. This inclination intensifies unless the person who perhaps by now become a devotee is overwhelmed by the desire for sex. First is sensual tendency. Now he has become got a desire. That is called vision. I want to perform this act. And if the devotee succumbs to such illicit desires and engages in uncontrolled and irreligious sex, then it is prarabdha karma. Yes, puta has been transformed into bijam and now he is performing that, enjoying that karma, prarabdha. But in a wrong way. Like that. Then the suffering comes. So puta is in general tendency, sensual tendency. Bijam is particular desire. And the third is the phalanmukam is an anticipation. Phalanmukam is like about to fructify. One can, but not necessarily always. Difficulties. Yes. General tendency, sensual behavior. Ini perlu bolehkan. Pesan. Ya. People are mixed with the modes, not only pure tamoguna like that. The mixture is always there. So among the tamogunas, some who have some piety, they may be enjoying those things. Yes. Bali Maharaj. Actually, in case of Bali Maharaj, his going to the Swarga is not like ordinary person going to the Swarga. Because Bali Maharaj is a Mahadev, a pure devotee. Because he is holding the responsibility of the asura, leading the asuras basically. Like Vibhishan also was leading the asuras. And Krishna wants such devotees also to take care of, because by they are accepted by the asuras as their leaders. Asuras also take advantage by that. So, the Bali Maharaj going to Vila Swarga is because it's the Lord's desire. And he said that he created such a facility there also that it is better than a heavenly planet. Just like a devotee sometimes may be living in the material world. But Prabhupada says that just like you have embassy of the foreign country, like American embassy here in this place. That American embassy is America here in India. They said you cannot arrest a person in American embassy. Indian government cannot arrest inside. There are etiquettes. Even if somebody, criminal runs inside and takes the shelter of the embassy, the Indian government cannot go inside and arrest. It is against the embassy rules. So similarly, even in the material world, even the Villa Swarga, whatever is that, there can be a place created by the Lord which is different from that place. Where the laws of that place are not applicable to that place. Like Srila Prabhupada said, our temples also like Vaikuntha. They are part of this material world, but because Krishna is there and devotees are performing devotional service, the laws of the material world are not applicable. So they are Vaikuntha. So that is up to the Lord, he can change the thing. So he asked Bali Maharaj to live in Vila Swarga because there was an unnecessary fight between asuras and demigods. God wanted to settle down. While settling the law, things, the Lord devotees they agree with law. Okay, whatever you want. So Bali Maharaj had conquered dangerous position, so he gave it up. Actually, when the devotees, why duty of the devotees is that immediately they agree with the Lord. They don't have any opposition. Out of love, whatever Krishna is wanting. Otherwise, in general, rules are there. Those who are pious, impious, accordingly the different destinations are different. And people are always mixed with those things. Somebody has been very tamoguna, but he has done some pious activity in the past life. He may be enjoying in the village. But in the world is very, very mysterious place. All the dirty things there around that one night thing also can come up like that. All the fidget and the lotus comes out. Some places also can come. Among all the dirty people, one wonderful Vaishnava may go. Haridas Thakur is born. That Krishna